Good morning, everyone. I hope no matter what time, what day it is for you, you are having a wonderful one. Today, I wanted to take just a moment to reflect on my first quarter of 2026. So I have managed to catch a little bit of a cold, so I'm so sorry if you can hear that. But nonetheless, the month progresses, and today we're going to go over a few things. Got my legal pad here and everything. We're going to reflect on my reading goals. I feel like I really didn't finalize those reading goals until closer to Lunar New Year, but I still want to take a look at them, see how we're doing, see how I can do better in the next 3 months. So really just reflecting and recalibrating there. I also want to talk about the books I read, and I really want to focus on my top 3 books from the last 3 months. I feel like that's more positive, but I will go through each book that I did read in the last 3 months briefly. Briefly, you guys, we're going to keep it moving. And lastly, I have some stats to go over of those books overall, what types of books I'm reading, how many, etc. And I'll end with a couple books that I want to have like at the tippy top of my TBR going into the next quarter. So without further ado, that sounds like we got a lot to cover. Let's get into my reading goals and how they are treating me. My first goal of the year is to read 50 books, and I have currently read 10. So for those who are quick at math, I am 2 books behind schedule technically. And I do feel like that makes sense because I think I read 3 books 2 out of the 3 months. That's low for me, but I also have been trying not to stress myself out about reading. But maybe I do also need a little kick in the behind to get me back on track and reading a touch more. When we get to some of the stats, like I think there are ways that I can really improve this number going into the next quarter. So going forward, trying to look to reading about 5 books a month, that will put me over my goal, but I think aim a little high. If we fall low, we're still on track. My next 2 goals are ones that I do plan to make videos on, and one is to finish a percentage of my physical TBR, and the other is to finish a number of series that I'm in the middle of. Both of these are going to have videos attached, so don't worry if you're curious about the details there. But I don't currently have an exact number on how many series I'm in the middle of and how many books I have physically that I have not read yet. So I need to do those 2 things. So that's the biggest thing, is that I need to do those 2 things so that I can start focusing more on these goals. But right now they're very arbitrary. They don't mean anything without the context. So biggest thing is to, 1, stop starting series, because I have been doing that this month. That's all I did actually, was start 2 new series, I believe. And physical book wise, I did read 2. So I mean, that's good that I'm reading any, but I really feel like these are arbitrary right now. So be on the lookout, because now I'm motivated for a bit of an Unhaul reset physical TBR update, and then also a separate video talking about the series I'm in the middle of and if I will or will not be continuing them. My next category was really about mindfulness of the books I'm bringing into the house. So I set a number for spending and a star rating that books have to meet to stay in my collection. So that's 3.75. $100 was what I was trying to spend this year, not including like money I make on Pango that I go spend on Pango. And just mindful of less so even the price of the book, but like it's coming into my house. It is something else I own. Creating some mindfulness around that. So overall, I think I will have a few books to unhaul later in this video, but I'm feeling good about where I'm at on the star rating part. On the spending part, I was not amazing at tracking in the last 3 months because, again, I hadn't really dialed in these goals yet, but I do believe I've spent under $30. And I'm going to let myself believe that going into this next quarter, where I can really focus on this and keep it as a number I'm tracking. And lastly, I think mindfulness is a big focus for this next quarter, and buying intentionally is always something I want to do better at. So just know that it's time to lock in, and you'll be hearing more about these as I go on. Look, it's a great time to reflect because you get to see what the heck you're doing and what the heck you ain't. So moving on to something we are doing. I was so excited this year to start our Discord book club, the Hyperfixated Book Club, and we are moving into month 2 where we are still reading medieval books. I have been struggling a little bit. I think the book I picked up is so much slower paced than I wanted it to be, and I have already kind of been in a slump. But I'm excited for this next month, and then we'll be choosing a new topic for the 2 months after that. So I feel like I'm getting back into it. I hope to finish a few books in the category. Honestly, 2 would be amazing. 1 would be all right. So I'm excited to produce more content that goes along with the book club to kind of like, you know, make it a little more robust. But overall, I'm loving talking to you guys over there, and it is free. You can join. I have it linked always. So if that's something that interests you, that will be in the description. My last little goal section, so we're flying through these mostly because I haven't been doing much with them, was to read every quarter, a nonfiction, a reread, and a classic. I hit 1 of the 3. I did reread 1 book. I just need to be intentional about picking up a classic and a nonfiction because those don't speak to me generally. Like, it is not a genre I dive into very frequently, and therefore it needs to be intentional that I'm picking those up. So something to think about for me going into the next quarter. We are going to fly through these books, mostly just talking about the book, the author, and then my star rating. I do reviews over on Instagram every time I finish a book. They're on Goodreads, they're on Storygraph. So if you hear me talk about a book or give a rating to a book that you are intrigued to hear more about, that information is out there for you. I just really wanted to make this like a quick overview of how the last few months have been, but I will spend a little extra time on my top 3. And the first book I have to share with you is one of those top 3. My first book of 2025 was Silver Cloak by L.K. Stevens. I gave this book 3.5 stars. You can tell that's in my top 3, so you can kind of get an idea of why we've been in a slump. I have not had tons of books that have knocked it out of the park in the last few months. This one was hard for me to rate. I felt like it was a very intriguing book. I liked the magic system. It was a little different, but I also had mixed feelings about the magic system because it allowed for loopholes for it to like really not matter what the rules were in the magic system, because we can do whatever we want, which I usually have problems with. I did love the atmosphere. Like, I felt like I was dropped right in it, and we had characters that I was intrigued by. I wanted to see them interact more. I wanted to see more of their chemistry, and I wanted to come back. And I will definitely be picking up the next book when it comes out this year. It was fairly predictable all in all, so it's like it had some things didn't work. It kind of really did fall in that middle of the road, but a little on the higher side. Like, I'm interested to pick up the next book. I like what this author's doing, and I will read more from her. So that was my first read, and I promise I'm not going to talk this much about all of them, but that was my first read for 2026. Next, I read The Appeal by Janice Hallett. This one ended up being a 3-star for me. Following that, my last read of January was The Nightblood Prince by Molly X. Chang, and this one was a 1.75 from me. Moving up, truly, and moving on, February, the first book was a reread, and that was Long Live Evil by Sarah Reese Brennan. This is my highest rated book of the quarter at 4.5 stars. The premise of this first book is that our main character is dying of cancer in our world, and she's given the opportunity to enter this fantasy novel series for a chance to live. So it's a fun concept. I will say it's a bit campy. It's a little like goofy, but in a very fun way. And then it also ranges all the way to being serious and having characters that you're really caring for and rooting for. So this one is 100% worth the read. I loved it. I think it kind of did what The Assistant to the Villain like wanted to be, but like 2 million times better. Like this is where camp is camp, you know, and it's so fun to be a part of it. So I think originally I rated it a 5 or a 4.75. On the reread, it was just hard because that first read had so much novelty to it. It felt so unique. It's such a fresh breath of air that on the reread, of course, I don't have those feelings necessarily to it. But I truly do think if you've been reading too much romantasy, too much fantasy, nothing's hitting, this is like in that realm, but like so different and inspiring, and it makes you like love the genre again. If you've seen me on social media at all, literally I don't shut up about this book because I'm so excited for the next one to come out. I will sell my soul to get to read this arc. I am saying that every day on Instagram. So hopefully I will be able to read that arc and share it with you early. I'm crossing my fingers, my toes, everything that comes to fruition. But for now, I just want to give you a blanket recommendation for this first one, especially with the next one coming out so soon. And I will say the first like 30 to 40%, you're really trying to get like your grip on the reins of this story, get used to it. But I will tell you the juice is certainly worth the squeeze, with the latter like 60-70% of the book being well worth your while. So that's all I have to say there. Let's move on. I promise I wouldn't talk about all the books too much, but this one is such an exception. Please read it. Please tell me what you think. Next, I read Drive Me Crazy by Lizzie Dent, and this one received a 1.5 stars from me. Next, I read Deathly Fates by Tessia Sai. This one I spoke more about in a past video about spring releases, so if you want to hear more thoughts, it's there, but I gave it 3 stars. And lastly, in February, I read Toe to Toe by Fallon Ballard, and this one I ended up giving 2.75 stars. And to round everything up, for March, I read 3 books, starting with Flirting with Murder by Amanda Sellett. This one ended up getting a 2.75 from me as well. Then I read Don't Tell Me How It Ends by Adrienne Thurman. This one is, again, one of my top 3 from the last 3 months. This one ended up getting a 3.5 stars from me. This is a debut author, I believe. I have to talk to you about this book because I got a new book boyfriend out of this whole situation, so it's a good day to be me. But I will say out of the gates, this one opens with very like sexual content, and I was a little thrown off. I was a little, so this one's definitely adult. But as I read, like the next 30% started flying by, and I could not stop thinking about what was gonna happen. I do think what can be difficult if you pick this one up is like our female character isn't necessarily likable at all times. And so if you struggle with unlikable female characters, one, consider to yourself, why do I struggle with women not being just likable? But also consider picking up a book with an unlikable character and just giving it a go. I think my only real problem with the book is sometimes I struggled with how much our man was willing to give, and she wasn't quite ready to meet him. And I feel like he was dealing with his own feelings, and they just ended up getting sidelined a lot. But again, he is not our lead character. But I do think it delivered stunning banter. It delivered amazing chemistry. My one biggest qualm really was pacing. Because like the beginning, I wasn't sure. We got into a really good stretch. We had a bit of a slog moment. And then the ending wrapped up way too fast for me. So again, I think that was like my biggest complaint. But this is an author to watch. I certainly think one day she'll be on all of our shelves. So I think you should keep an eye out for her and give this one a go. And the last book I picked up was The Shippers by Catherine Center. This was an arc as well, and I ended up giving it a 3.25. So let's head into the stats to get more of like an overview of what type of books these were, how my ratings were overall for the last quarter. So if you're counting along with me there, I ended up reading 10 books in the last 3 months, of which 4 were romance, 3 were YA, 2 were fantasy, and 1 was a mystery. I think that math lines up, right? I think that adds up to 10. Now, as far as where I got these books from, 3 were books I owned, 1 I got from the library, and the other 6 were ARCs. So I feel so fortunate that I got to read so many books early and give you guys my thoughts. And honestly, I can't remember the last time I read more ARCs than anything else. So that's crazy. Now this stat is more like, did I read these physically? Did I listen to them, etc.? And I think this is where I can possibly improve how much I'm reading going into the next quarter, because I read 0 audiobooks in 3 months. Like, that's so weird for me. I usually read at least 1 a month. And so I think that's an area where I can do a little bit better and get a little more reading in. But along with that, I ended up reading 8 of those books as ebooks, mostly because they were ARCs, and 2 physically. So we're circling to the point where it is time for a little unhaul, because I only am keeping books that I rate a 3.75 or higher, and so there is 1 book in my collection that I do need to go get and put into my little unhaul section. So I will go grab that, show you which book is leaving the house, but the other one is Long Live Evil, and I have this beautiful Fairy Loot edition, and that baby is going nowhere. This one is staying right here at home. So let me go get our book to unhaul. Okay, y'all, it always hurts my soul to get rid of a book, but I think, like I was discussing, having way too big of a physical TBR, I only want to have books on my shelf that I want to read again or loan out to a friend, and this one is just not going to be that for me. So the Nightblood Prince is going to be unhauled. It is such a beautiful Fairy Loot edition here, and the end pages are gorgeous. Like, oh, if I kept books just on looks alone, I think it would stay, because I think it is so gorgeous, and I will show you the hardcover as well. Like, it is gorgeous. So unfortunately, it just didn't meet my expectations, and that is totally fine, and it'll find another home with someone who loves it. So thank you, right? We're supposed to thank you for being here. Thanks for being beautiful. You can go enjoy the rest of your life elsewhere. Oh, goodness. Now we get to talk about books that I'm excited to get to in the next 3 months. I am just going to talk about 5 because, again, at the rate I'm reading, I don't want to make a huge TBR that feels like something I can't even accomplish. And I really just wanted it to be like niche down to the things I really want to get to. So first off, because we did talk about book club, I do have The Crystal Cave that I picked up at half price by Mary Stewart. And this is book 1 of an Arthurian saga. So it'll align perfectly with our medieval book reading months. So I hope to really get to this one, and it's the perfect time. And I've heard great things. So that one is on the must-read list. Following that, I did put, also from half price, Wild Wood Dancing by Juliette. I know her name, but it's right over the sticker, by Juliette Marillier. This one is, I almost think, a fairy tale retelling. I mean, it looks gorgeous. It looks perfect for that. 5 adventurous sisters, 4 dark creatures, 3 magical gifts, 2 forbidden loves, 1 enchanted frog. Cross the threshold into the wild wood and enter a land of magic, daring, betrayal, and true love. I feel like this is so spring-coated. I just want to be outside and laying in the grass reading this. So hopefully that happens for me. Next is actually a middle grade novel, but I just thought it was so gorgeous. A friend bought it for me for my birthday, and it's Some Kind of Happiness, Clara Legrand. This one is about Finley Hart, and in it she is sent to her grandparents' house for the summer, and her only retreat is the Everwood, a forest kingdom that exists in the pages of her notebook, until she discovers the endless forest behind her grandparents' house and realizes that Everwood is real and it's in trouble. With the help of her cousins, Finley sets out on a mission to save it, But as the mysteries pile up and Finley's reality and fantasy start to collide, she realizes that if she wants to save Everwood, she'll have to save herself. That sounds so beautiful, and it kind of gives bridge to Terabithia. Hopefully it is not that depressing, but I just think it'd be so comforting to read this again out in the forest, doing some hiking and reading about this young girl saving the woods. So you guys, I love talking about books I'm excited for because it just makes me feel hopeful about getting out of this slump. The last two books I have to show you are kind of in the Regency era, I guess. I'm not entirely sure if this one's Regency, but I've been hearing nonstop about the Unselected Journals of Emily M. Lyon. This is the first volume. I have the first 4. They're fairly short, that's why I feel very comfortable putting it on here. Oh, in these books, the year is 1883, and Emma M. Lyon has returned to her London neighborhood. But Emma's plans for a charmed and studious life are sabotaged by her eccentric cousin Archibald, her formidable Aunt Eugenia, and the slightly odd denizens of St. Crispin's. Emma M. Lyon offers up her unselected journals, however self-incriminating they may be. Armed with wit and a sideways amusement, Emma documents the curious realities of her life. Okay, I think that they sound so fun, and I just feel like that's not too big of a book to bite off, because the last one is our ringer, and it is Emma by Jane Austen. I feel like we are just going into the beginning of spring here, and I know this is like a winter to spring novel, and I've just been dying to read it, honestly, and rewatch it. I remember watching the Gwyneth Paltrow version when I was very young. I have no memory of it really, but I think it is so gorgeous, and I just want to dive into some Jane Austen. That's not Pride and Prejudice. That is my love. That is my lifeline. But I want to branch out this summer and spring. So hopefully I get around to this and have time to read a 530-page book. So you guys, I'm so happy we're ending on such a positive, upbeat note, because I think the spring is the beginning for us, okay? It is a time to bloom. It is a time for us to thrive. And so I hope you are starting to feel like you're thriving as well. And once I beat this cold, and once I start getting off my social media on my phone, and once I start exercising, no one stands a chance, okay? But it is that time of the video that always shows up. It is time for me to love you and leave you. Thank you so much for being here. I'll see you in the next one.